True freedom is inside of me. The shift. I have been known as Dr. Tanya since my graduation from dental school in 1987. Today, I no longer identify with the title or the full name because I have connected to my true self, my soul. I am Diestati. I met Lee, an American who lived in Florida, at an investment conference in Cancun, May 2002. I did not allow myself to believe that Lee would be interested in a complete family. My daughter Luba was 10 years old, and my son Greg was 8. Belonging to a family was in fact Lee's deepest need and desire. Even life in the very cold winters of Ottawa, Canada, did not scare Lee away. We were married on a cruise ship in Barbados, December 2003. Luba and Greg celebrated with us. Life with Lee was amazing for almost 10 years. We traveled the world with Luba and Greg, mostly by cruising. In early 2003, Lee introduced me to paradigm education. The minute I heard this information, I could not stop myself from trying to share it with others. We formally promoted this human rights education because we believed we had found the truth, and I needed to inform others of the imminent world financial collapse. I openly stopped paying income tax, and the government did not bother me for years. I believe that their tacit acceptance was proof that I was right. Lee and I were arrested for income tax evasion and the promotion of paradigm education December 6, 2011. This was what can be called a shock situation for both of us. I was able to pull myself together quite quickly because unknowingly I was preparing myself for this for 10 years. I started writing letters to Lee to help him deal with his emotional state and this immense challenge we created for ourselves. In these videos, I share a few of the letters I wrote to Lee during our incarceration. The shift. I was inspired to write this section after reading the book The Shift by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Most people are unconscious of being possessed by the ego voice in their head. Since my ego mind is controlled by the past, I am reliving the past over and over. My physical body reacts to what the mind is saying, and therefore it reacts to all my thoughts. The physical body has its own intelligence. The intelligence is behind all the body functions that are perfectly coordinated. This intelligence runs the body. In emergency situations, humans respond instinctively, just like animals. But humans also have the higher emotional response. An emotion is the body's response to a thought. This is what separates us from animals. We are sophisticated animals with thoughts and emotions. The body is extremely intelligent. However, it cannot tell the difference between an actual situation of danger and a thought. This is the cause, the reason why the toxic energy of thought interferes with the harmonious functions of the body. Toxic thoughts cause dis-ease. The body reacts to the negative thoughts of ego mind. These are some common toxic thoughts. I'm nothing. I'm not respected or appreciated. I must fight to survive. There is not enough money. Life is a bitch. I don't deserve abundance. I don't deserve love. I'm useless, and so on. This voice, the ego mind, continuously disrupts the body's natural state of well being. Positive emotions and thoughts have the opposite effect on the physical body. They strengthen the immune system and heal the body one cell at a time. The world around us is continuously projecting negative emotions into the collective consciousness. The news is selling negative emotions. The media knows that news with negative emotions sell far more than regular news. It is obvious that now things are slowly shifting. Many more individuals are becoming conscious. The collective ego is losing its stronghold on the collective human mind. Once I connect to consciousness, I can start to let go of ego attachments. This is the shift to true inner power, the force. This energetic shift, which happens once I make the decision, allows the light from my soul, spirit, to shine through the wall of fear, death, more and more every single day. The human mind is typically unwilling to let go of the past. Internally, there is a constant accumulation of negative stuff. This stuff becomes a very heavy burden to carry around. These memories, in and of themselves, are not a problem. It is only when these memories turn into constant negative thoughts and feelings that they become a burden. They create a heavy pain body in the physical body. Realization and awareness that a pain body exists in the physical body is the shift that begins the dissolving of the pain body. I read The Power of Now by Eckart Tolle before I went to prison. I read it again in prison. Just the other day, when Lee and I were talking about the latest developments with family members, Lee mentioned the pain body because he is rereading The Power of Now yet again. I decided to add these few paragraphs here, pages 37 and 38. The pain body wants to survive, just like every other entity in existence, and it can only survive if it gets you to unconsciously identify with it. It can then rise up, take you over, become you, and live through you. It needs to get its food through you. It will feed on any experience that resonates with its own kind of energy. Anything that creates further pain in whatever form: anger, destructiveness, hatred, grief, emotional drama, violence, and even illness. So the pain body, when it takes you over, will create a situation in your life that reflects back its own energy frequency for it to feed on. Pain can only feed on pain. Pain cannot feed on joy. It finds it quite indigestible. Once the pain body has taken you over, you want more pain. You become a victim of a perpetrator. You want to inflict pain, or you want to suffer pain, or both. You are not conscious of this, of course, and will vehemently claim that you do not want pain. But look closely, and you will find that your thinking and behavior are designed to keep the pain going for yourself and others. If you are truly conscious of it, the pattern would dissolve. For to want more pain is insanity, and nobody is consciously insane. The pain body, which is the dark shadow cast by the ego, is actually afraid of the light of your consciousness. It is afraid of being found out. Its survival depends on your unconscious identification with it, as well as on your unconscious fear of facing the pain that lives in you. But if you don't face it, if you don't bring the light of your consciousness into the pain, you will be forced to relive it again and again. The pain body may seem to you like a dangerous monster that you cannot bear to look at, but I assure you that it is an insubstantial phantom that cannot prevail against the power of your presence. So the pain body doesn't want you to observe it directly and see it for what it is. The moment you observe it, feel its energy field within you, and take your attention into it, the identification is broken. A higher dimension of consciousness has come in. I call it presence. You're now the witness or the watcher of the pain body. This means that it cannot use you anymore by pretending to be you, and it can no longer replenish itself through you. You have found your own innermost strength. You have accepted the power of now. Guy's image of loop the loop is extremely powerful. If I learn to live in the now, I no longer drag all that negative energy of the past. And further, I do not waste time worrying about the future by constantly pushing all that energy of insecurity. The anatomy lesson. The 5 parts of the human cell. Each cell in the human body contains the following 5 parts. From the inside out, we find 1. Spirit, invisible, outside of space-time. 2. Soul, invisible, immortal, within space-time. Wall of death separates the soul from the body. 3. Mental body, barely visible, mortal. 4. Vital body, barely visible, mortal. 5. Physical body, visible, mortal. Note, the order always manifests from the inside out. The wall of death, or the wall of fear, does not allow my true light, spirit, soul, me, to shine. All human beings radiate an energy field. This energy corresponds to the inner state of emotions. How bright or dim is my light? Others can feel this energy. Children are very sensitive at a young age. Adults try to consciously suppress their pain, but they can't stop the creation of a very toxic environment, and the children absorb the psychic toxicity. I am soul, dies tati. That is the absolute truth. However, saying those words and living it is very different. If I were not incarcerated, I would still have ownership and attachments to everything, even as I spoke that I don't believe in ownership. Shifting into who I am is a process. It is not an easy path, and it does not happen overnight. Because I'm now at a certain level of awareness, I am able to decide what kind of a relationship I want with the present moment. I choose to welcome it. The decision of acceptance I must continue to make again and again in every moment of the now. I consciously stop myself from thinking, What will I say to the parole board when that time comes? There's no point wasting thought energy playing over and over a future scene in my mind. Everything I rehearse in my mind will not happen. I found that writing things down is helpful to remove the thoughts from the mind. Once on paper, my mind will quiet down. Later, when the moment comes, I can use what I wrote down, discard it, or modify it. The key is to get it out of my mind. Because I'm no longer totally identified with my body, I am dissolving the imprisonment and limitations of my body. Am I in jail? Prison? How can I be imprisoned when my mind is no longer controlled, no longer imprisoned? I am truly free. This form, the illusion of jail, will pass. Meditation continues to be a challenge for me. The mind continues to create thoughts. I recognize the thoughts and attempt to stop them. I shift my attention away to breathing because breathing takes my attention away from thinking and creates space. One conscious breath is enough to make some space where before there was only the uninterrupted thought after another. Breath awareness is an extremely effective way of creating space and therefore allowing soul spirit to integrate into the body. This is the process that leads to transformation. I repeat Mother's mantra over and over again. Om Namo Bhagavate. Om, the invocation of the Supreme. I call infinite love, Dies Tati. Namo, perfect submission, total self-giving. I sincerely surrender to Dies Tati. Bhagavati, the aspiration, what manifestation must become. Divine, I ask her to transform my body into her image and likeness. My shift started when I became consciously aware that there is more to my existence. I shift and make a U-turn to something my ego is unfamiliar with. As I move in this direction, I am in awareness that there is no possibility of shortage or lack. I become content and grateful for all that I have. I begin to trust the divine. Ego constantly dissuades me from believing in my own divinity, insisting that I am separate from the Supreme. As I begin my conscious unification with my soul, I slowly become empowered from within. I believe that most evolutionary leaps are produced by some sort of a fall. It is in fact a universal law that a fall precedes a rise. This major fall I have lived can be seen as an embarrassing event if I allow the exaggerated influence of ego to play out its role. I am conscious that low points provide the energy needed to make the shift in a direction away from the ego-driven life to one of unification with my soul. The bigger the purpose I signed up for in this lifetime, the bigger and harder the falls I encounter. Lee, you picked up the book of Eckart Tolle, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose, and said it almost jumped out of the shelf. You later read in my letter that I picked up the same book. The people we need appear. Circumstances come together in a way that assists us on our path. financing becomes available, and so on. Jean, the lawyer, was called by Guy at the right time, and a disability return of premium insurance check came in when I had no money to pay Jean for his services. The CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, allowed Jean to cash that check so that he could be compensated, even though the CRA was taking all of the money that belonged to Dr. Tanya. The most important thing I can do to reduce the influence of the ego is to consciously shift and say that I choose my soul. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When ego is running things, the teachers go unnoticed. Once I acknowledge my readiness to learn and shift into a life of meaning, there's little to do. Everything starts unfolding in its perfection. I don't interfere or try to control my life any longer. I recognize that everything that happens is happening for a perfect reason. Non-interference becomes a higher priority than being right. I shift into a life of harmony and alignment with my soul. I am able to let go of the duality of right and wrong. I came into this world like everyone else, with nothing, no things. Since I don't keep anything I accomplish or accumulate, the only thing I can do with these accumulations is to give them away. The government was instrumental in pushing me forward on my evolution of consciousness path. Giving away everything was easy to do once my ego was forced to accept defeat. On the surface, it appears to everyone that the government did this to me, but I know it was my soul that created every detail that I'm living and experiencing. I, the woman, had to consciously disconnect from my ego. I had the free will choice to live this jail experience in pain, frustration, and anger, or peace and harmony. The choice was simple. I'm looking forward to live this life in this ego-less space. I want to live paradise on earth. I'm dissolving my worldly ambitions, and the door to paradise and immortality is opening up. I'm connecting slowly but surely to the divine realm, and I sense the guidance from within, from my soul. Whatever I give away to the universe, a multiple amount will be given back to me. I came into this world with an inner calling to fulfill, a destiny that will never be silenced. The universe responds back to me with the same vibrating energy that I sent out. Love must be put into action, and that action is service to others. Infinite love. From millennium slavery to individual sovereignty. Let's rejoice, because the insanity we are experiencing is an illusion, which is pushing more and more of us to awaken. Our world is in an evolutionary crisis, because the human mind is ready to go beyond rational intelligence to a greater consciousness. In the Orient, in the 20th century, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother discovered and anchored truth consciousness, the supramental consciousness in the earthly atmosphere. Since then, the supramental consciousness has been operational on Earth as an active evolutionary power. Once well anchored, the new consciousness was ready to move on to the next stage, its popularization and propagation. In the West, In the 21st century emerged personal creation. Sri Aurobindo synthesized the Eastern and Western ideas of evolution and boldly declared that humans are transitional beings. They're not final. Evolution continues, and humans will be surpassed. This is the future awaiting humanity. This is an unprecedented adventure of consciousness on Earth. One single and sincere look at the present world situation is enough to convince us that it has reached the point of no return. Let's stop repeating our obsolete ways, which can only bring more suffering. Let us all spread the contagion of infinite love. In these times of irremediable dissolution of the illusion, let us keep our faith ardent with an unfailing sincerity. We must choose our soul at all costs. Infinite love.